Most people, most champions do not have something that you do not have. They lack something that you have. For a champion in the physical realm, a lot of times it's they don't have an off switch. They just keep going. And so to the same degree, you probably do things every single day that you should not be doing. And so what I want to introduce to you is a concept of the anti-routine as the most productive routine that is humanly possible for you to accomplish what you want. Number one is obviously just shifting the perspective of I need to do more things and I need to add more things to my routine, when in fact you need to stop doing things that you're currently doing. All that remains is the work to be done. Priorities mean two things cannot be equally important. When you work on something, if I spend 30 minutes on both things and I say this one's more important than this one, I can say that, but that's not reality because I basically just said they were both important, which means neither of them are, which is why most people cannot get done because they cannot say no. You need to have a routine of saying no, an anti-routine, and that is the thing that's going to yield those outsized returns on productivity. You can't do two things with different levels of importance. It's either important or it's not important. So if you say this is the priority, then it means you do not do other things besides that thing. That is how it is a priority. That is how you literally prioritize.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because in my first business, I struggled to stay afloat. I quit my business partner, and the thing that kept me going was studying the stories of famous entrepreneurs and seeing how they struggled and seeing what they had to overcome and listening to their wisdom, motivation, gave me the courage, the strength, the belief to go one more day and see my business through. And in all honesty, I still need the inspiration, wisdom, motivation today for my business too. So today, let's live your best belief life and learn the 10 habits that successful people run daily. Enjoy. Habit number 2 is build perseverance with Tom Bilyeu.
Do you know how depressed you have to be to kneel on the floor instead of sitting on the couch? Like where you're just, oh God, everything in your life sucks. I have knelt on the floor before the couch and wanted to cry, just wished that I was a crier because I could not get the feeling out of my body. And the only thing in those moments that keeps me going is being so obsessed with my goal that when I focus on that glowing hot ember at the center of my life, it's enough. But if it isn't enough, you will quit. This is why almost everybody quits at everything.
Yeah.
They all give up. New Year's resolution, they all quit. The big goal in their life, they all quit. I'm getting emotional right now. People quit, dude. It's so heartbreaking. My mission in life is to get people to understand that they're having a biological experience, so they'll do the things they need to do to not quit, to just have the juice to keep going, to have a habit system that makes the feeling you need to feel to keep going visceral. You feel it in your gut. Like nobody could tell you to stop because you really are excited. Like the things that I'm excited about, I'm legitimately excited. And people can't stop me from being excited. Like if you ask me, like right now, we're recording this in the middle of the most bear market of bear markets. Even people in Web3 now are like turning on each other. It's super weird. But you couldn't make me not be excited about it because I've spent so much time thinking about what the technology is going to let us do and how I'm going to leverage that to have the impact that I want to have on the world. And quite frankly, just telling stories is so exciting to me. And so when I talk about it, I feel the thing I want to feel. So now, if I just start telling somebody what my vision is, I get re-excited. I don't do it on purpose anymore. The first 6 months, a year, whatever, was so intentional. Like having to remind myself, this is why I'm doing it, this is why it's exciting, repeat. But now, if somebody asks me about it and I just start talking about it, I can't help but get amped and enthusiastic. And so something that you and I say a lot, that we stole from David Goggins, or David Goggins graced us with, to carry the boats. I'll carry all of Web3 if I have to. I will drag them into the future. I don't need them to support me anymore. I don't need the energy to come back from them. You have to, whatever the thing is that somebody wants, it has to be that visceral. And may I take us into deeper waters? You have to be able to create an image in your mind that makes you feel so aggressive. I rightly get accused of speaking in war language. And the first time somebody said that to me, I felt guilty. I was like, ooh, that's kind of gross. Maybe I shouldn't do that. And for a long time, I was like, yeah, I need to find a better way to say that. I'm unapologetic now. I imagine myself as a warrior covered in the blood of those who are trying to stop me from having the impact that I want to have on the world. Now, I don't mean that literally. I am not going to kill. Violence is a mistake. But having that level of intensity to bring people together, to help people, and I do admit, that imagery is very evocative, and so I very much think of myself with a sword in my hands, dripping with the blood of the weak people who are trying to stop me, Will. That gets me going. Right now, look, you can actually see the hair standing up on my arm. That gets me, I'm sweating. That gets me going. And so I feed that image into my mind so that in those moments, I'm like, no. Like I can lean into that dark energy. I can keep myself going, but I do it so much. It is so visceral. It is so real that I feel it when I need it, it's there. And I can think of myself with that sword, having to just go through all the obstacles, covered in blood, hearing the lamentations of those who would try to oppose me. I can only imagine what people are thinking right now. But that works. It works. And if people can internalize that level of intensity for the beautiful thing they want to do, I want to reinforce that. It is a uplifting thing. I want to bring people together. But it's hard. And so you have to be able to generate that level of intensity to get to the other side, to keep going, to overcome the second law of thermodynamics, which is that all things move towards chaos, entropy. What's the answer? You have to pour energy into the system. And you have to pour that energy into the system in a very specific, guided way. If when people are trying to like tear you down, or just like forget that, because I'm not a victim, when things are just hard, when I'm an idiot and I keep making mistakes, when I'm embarrassed, how do I have the energy to keep going? I have to see myself as that warrior. I have to be willing to be covered in my own blood. I have to be willing to keep pushing and going and being able to channel that Goggins and to find that gear and to shift into it when I'm on my knees in front of the couch because I don't have the emotional fortitude to sit on the couch. I have been there. At that moment, I have to be able to channel that energy.
Habit number 3 is align your action with your goals with Mel Robbins.
Successful people act before they feel ready. They act like the person they want to be instead of the person that they feel like today. I got my start in the media business. This was my first taste of the media business in 2008 by hosting a local call-in radio show on Saturday mornings in Boston, Massachusetts.
I did not know that.
Yes, I paid for my kids' braces by reading Invisalign ads for a dentist in Boston that I still go to. Shout out to Dr. Ronkin. He did not pay me to say that. That was a long time ago. And I loved that show, Tom. I freaking loved it. Why did I have a radio show? I'll tell you why. Because for those of you that have seen my first appearance here with Tom, this was the period in my life where Chris's restaurant was going off the rails. We were nearly $1 million in debt. There were liens on our house. I had lost my job. I needed money. That's why I had that job. It paid $25 an hour for 2 hours every Saturday. And I felt like the world's worst mom because every other parent was at town soccer. Somebody else, thank you to the Graces for driving our kids. They were taking our kids to soccer for us while I could go host this radio show and Chris was doing whatever he could to save the business. That show was a lifeline. I would talk to real people every single day. It made me feel connected to people. It gave me a sense of purpose. I loved the intimacy of it. And so and that show eventually grew and it became syndicated. And then I won something called the Gracie Award for my coverage of Trayvon's murder. Whoa. And that got CNN's attention. And they called me and said, hey, we would love to have you be a legal analyst here. And so that then got me on CNN. And ever since I left radio, I have missed it. And I've been wanting to get back to it. And in the back of my mind, especially after I wrote the 5-second rule, I kept thinking, I need to launch a podcast. I need to launch a podcast. I love podcasts. I need to do this. And it mattered so much to me I was so like drawn to it, Tom, that I think that oftentimes when the dream is such a call, the excuses match the desire for it, right? And it was never the right time. It just never, I just talked myself out of it over and over and over and over and over again. And so finally, like 18 months ago, I literally woke up one morning, I had my own wake-up call, and I'm like, that's it. Like, you're gonna let another 10 years go by unless you make a decision to get started.
How'd you get started? So you decide you're going to do it, and like take people into the weeds a bit.
Yeah, okay.
This is where I think people go off the rails. They're sitting at home thinking, yeah, I want to start a podcast as well. And I want to hear, because I know that you end up doing it on a way more professional stage. But walk people through who'd you call? Was it a relationship that you built 20 years ago? I want people to follow that.
Yeah, so
train.
First things first, I went to my friend Google. Honest to God, even though I know Tom and I know Lisa, I was too embarrassed to ask you because, you know, you guys are like out here with all these millions of subs and you've like been doing the show for a while. And same thing with Lewis. Like, you know, you and I have some amazing friends, and oftentimes I find that going to people that already seem like they're at the top of the top, that's intimidating. Because it magnifies, at least for somebody who's got a lot of insecurity like me, it magnifies the distance between where you are starting and where somebody is years down the road. Because part of your genius, Tom, is that like it's easy to look at what Tom's built and forget the fact that this dude has been studying film since he went to USC for film school. This guy is a insanely successful entrepreneur that's bringing all of that sweat equity and learning to the table. This is somebody that's dedicated himself to like years of figuring this out and sampling and editing. And so I personally find that when you go to somebody that's already there, it can be a little discouraging. So I went to Google and I'm like, how do you start a podcast? Honest to God, because I'm smart enough to know it's different than radio. And I didn't even know what equipment people have. I didn't know anything about, okay, do you go to, like, how do you put a podcast up? Do you put it everywhere? I don't know. Like, is there a form that you put the title on and the captions, and then do you send it somewhere? Like, I know how to upload a video to YouTube. I know how to, but I don't know anything about this market. And so I went to Google. You're going to laugh at me, but I bought a course about podcasting.
Not laughing at all.
I studied a bunch of videos about the type of equipment that people bought. I then just started stalking people that are doing it. And I started to say to myself, okay, what does somebody that already has a podcast, what do they do that I'm not currently doing? And so the first step is obviously learn about it. Identify a group of people that serve as what I call your lights on the path. And so lights on the path are people that are anywhere from one step ahead of you to 10 years ahead of you. And these are all people that can guide you forward if you study what they did. And most of them, by the way, we live in the most magical period of time. You have no excuse for not walking toward what you want. I realize it may be harder for some of us with mental health issues. I realize that not everybody starts at the same starting line because of bias and all kinds of things that can happen to people. But the bottom line is, through your actions and attitude, you can create anything you want.
Rule number 4 is master self-discipline with Marissa Peer.
I meet people all the time that really struggle with self-discipline because they have this interesting belief it's something you're born with, and that's not true. No baby is born with discipline. In fact, they find it very hard to do that. Discipline is something you acquire. It's like a muscle. If you work it, it gets better. So I'm going to tell you some absolute secrets of people who appear to be naturally disciplined. They're not. I've worked with many, many Olympic athletes. They don't go, yay, it's snowing, I'm going to get up and go out and train today. They have to keep saying, I want that Olympic medal, and this is the price I'm going to pay to get the Olympic medal. So before you begin to adopt self-discipline, take a minute and think, what do I want? What do I really, really, really want? And then answer another question. What price would I pay to get what I want? Do you want a great relationship? Well, you have to go out. You can't sit at home. You've got to go out and interact with people. You want a great job? You've got to go for some interviews. But there are some actually keys that very, very disciplined people have, and here is the most important one, and this would change your life if you do it. And I had to make myself do this. It was not natural at all. You must do what you don't want to do first. People who are hugely successful do this. They do the thing they hate first of all. I worked with somebody who was morbidly obese, and I said, you have to work out. When I hate working out, I'm heavy, it's really uncomfortable. I said, no, not only have you got to do it, you got to do it first. And I had to do that too. You see, if you don't like going to the gym and you go, I'll go later, then something happens, the phone rings, you eat something, you think, oh, it's too late now. When you go first, you think later, oh, I've been, I went to the gym first. I feel like a winner. You got to make a very difficult call. You've got to ring someone who owes you money, or confront someone that you don't want to confront, and you wait. And all day it's hanging over your head, making you feel so bad. But when you do it first, you feel like a winner. Because people who have discipline do this. They do the thing they do not want to do first. And I want you to start saying that. I was giving a speech recently, and the guy who came on after me said, I kept hearing my voice in my head going, Marissa said, do what you don't want to do first. He said, that has changed my entire business life. And all my staff remember that too. What do we not want to do? What's the worst job? Let's do that first and get it out of the way. So that is secret one to having incredible self-discipline. Tell yourself, make yourself do what you don't want to do first. And of course, in the beginning, this will be what you do, but you know what will happen? It starts to become who you are. It becomes easy. It becomes seamless. It's a bit like putting lenses in your eye. It feels seriously odd to suddenly jam your finger in your eye. But if you do it every day, it becomes easy. Because that's how habits are formed. You make a habit, and then your habits make you. So make your habits amazing. So you've got habit 1. Here is habit 2. Take action every single day in the direction of your goals. And that doesn't mean work for 10 hours a day, but even on a Saturday or a Sunday, if you're building your business, spend 5 minutes answering 1 email, making 1 call, because that's what winners do. They don't have a day off when they are on their way to success. They take action every single day in the direction of their goals. And here's point 3, and it possibly is the most important point of all. Delay gratification. Delay the reward. You see, years ago we went to work and our boss would go, hey, good job, you did really well today. But now a lot of us don't have a boss. We work for ourselves. We work from home. You may be a coach or a marketer. You don't have a boss praising you. Without praise, your praise muscle never really grows. What happens when you work for yourself is halfway through you stop and you do something. And what you have to do in the morning is go, right, I love my cappuccino, but I'm going to do something first. Make 6 calls, send out an email. Then the cappuccino is my reward. And in the evening, you've got to think of your dinner and your TV as a reward. I'm going to reward myself. And you see, if you see it as a reward, it makes you work better. It's a big problem that we take the reward first. I'm going to eat that, have a nice dinner, and I'll do all the other stuff later. And you know what happens? Later never comes. So you have to now do what we naturally do as parents. We say when you finish your homework, you can go out to play. At school, you have work, and then playtime. A parent will say, tidy up your room, and then you might have ice cream. So we are naturally wired to take the reward after the work. But what's happened is we now give ourselves the reward before the work, and then we don't feel any inspiration to do the work. So I promise you, if you adopt these 3 habits, it will change your life. Do what you don't want to do First, take action every day in the direction of your goals. No matter how small the action is, the smallness doesn't matter. What matters is you are wiring your mind, coding your mind, firing into your mind the habits of natural winners. And then you'll be a winner. And who cares if it's unnatural? That's not important. And point 3, of course, is delay gratification, delay your reward.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is write a journal with Jim Kwik.
When I was 18 years old and I was really struggling, I was a freshman in college. I couldn't keep up. I didn't know how to learn. I didn't know how to focus. I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to think. So a friend of mine said, hey, before you quit school, because that's the point I was at, I was ready to tell my family I was going to quit college, said, why don't you get some perspective? And we talk about the power of perspective with our thinking, that when you could change your point of view, you could look at something with a new, fresh eyes and take a new approach and not be stuck to a limited amount of options. So I go to visit the family, and the family is pretty well off. And the father walks me around his property before dinner and asks me a very innocent question, which is the worst question you could ask me at that time. Says, Jim, how's school? Right? And I just break down in front of this complete stranger and tell him my whole story, the boy with the broken brain, learning challenges, I'm ready to quit school. And he says, stop. Why are you in school? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? What do you want to share? And notice that his process for achievement is asking me new questions, because ask a new question, get a new answer. Changing perspective, place, people allows me a new point of view. So you see these principles always showing up with quality thinkers. And when I go to answer him what I want to do and be and have and share with the world, he says, stop. And he pulls out of his pocket a journal, like a notebook, and he tears out a couple of sheets and makes me write it down. And this is the principle I want to talk to you about in this lesson. So if you want to transform your thinking, you need to be able to transform your ability to write things down and make something physical. Because the act of taking the invisible, your imagination, your goals, your vision, and making it a reality, one of the best things you could do is to write it down and make a physical motion. So you actually created something from your thought, from your thinking, into reality. So that's the first step. So I wrote down my bucket list of all the things I wanted to be, do, have, and share. And this became my drive. This became my why. Why to learn, why to read, why to do well in school. And that's why we always talk about those 3 questions. Asking yourself, how can I use this? Why must I use this? When will I use this? So you'll notice in history, some of the most incredible geniuses, men and women throughout history, kept journals, right? The journals of Leonardo da Vinci, Marie Curie, Einstein, they're invaluable. They are priceless. And the question I've always wondered is it because they're geniuses that they're journaling all the time and they're making notes all the time? Or is it because they're journaling all the time that they become geniuses? I would argue for the latter. So in this session, I'm going to share with you exactly how I capture and create notes and how I journal each day to capture my thoughts. If you want expert high-level thinking, you need to be able to capture this in a journal. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get a journal or get a notebook. And I'm very big into physically writing your notes and writing in your journal as opposed to typing it out. Now, living in a digital age, I see the convenience of being able to share and store information digitally. I'm going to ask you through this process to actually handwrite it. And there are certain advantages to handwriting your notes and handwriting your journals. First of all, as you're taking notes as we're having this conversation, you can maybe type as fast as somebody can speak, but you certainly can't write that fast. So by writing it down, it forces you to think about what you're listening to. And you start to filter and qualify the information before you write it down, because you can't possibly write as fast as someone can speak. So in studies that have tested people from handwriting notes and typing out notes, the people that handwrite notes did better on test scores, maybe for this very reason, that they're capturing only the important parts. Because the worst way of taking notes actually was full transcripts or full dictation. Now the question is, how do you handwrite notes? What I would suggest is this: you have a piece of paper, take your pen and put a line right down the middle of the page. So on the left side, you're writing down the lessons. On the right side, you can be creative and ask the 3 questions. How can I use this? And then write it down. Why must I use it? And then write it down. When will I use it? And write it down. These are wonderful ways to not only take notes, but also to make notes. And by making notes, you create a feedback loop. And this is very good for advanced thinkers to train your thinking ability. You're taking your thoughts, you're putting it on paper, you're organizing them, and it allows you to use critical thinking skills. And some of the skills you're going to learn in this program right in front of you. So you have your notebook. You're capturing and you're creating. And I would have a dedicated notebook for this program. And on top of having a notebook, a dedicated notebook for your learning in this process, you could also have a journal. Some people have a life journal. Some people have a dream journal. In this journal, you could capture your day-to-days, your visions, the things that you're struggling with, the things that you're reflecting upon. So one of the benefits of having a journal is you go back and reread and review some of those entries. I have journals that date back years and years and years, and it's wonderful to be able to revisit. It gives you this thing called perspective. Perspective is a very powerful tool when it comes to your learning, when it comes to your thinking.
Rule number 6 is tell your own story with Vusi Tembekweo.
Here's what I wanted to share with you. It hit me that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. Exactly where I'm supposed to be. I might not like where I am. I might not like how I got here. But I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And the reason that's an empowering realization is because once I realize I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, then the question becomes, what am I expected to learn, do, or become to move me from where I am now to where I desire to be? Right? There are some of you watching this who don't like the place you're in. You've lost a business, you've lost a job, you've lost a home, you maybe lost friendships, loved ones, a lover, a family, a marriage, a partnership. There are some of you who are watching this and you have lost a lot. And it's hard. It's hard. The way through it is through it. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Once you realize this, how you approach the next few stages of your life changes. So the first question to ask yourself is, if I don't like where I am, how did I get here? Right? You are where you're supposed to be. But if you don't like it, how did you get here? And if you're not aware of the decisions you took or are continuing to take, of the way you show up in partnerships, friendships, relationships, of the way you think about yourself and about the world, of the way you speak to yourself, about yourself, to others, about others, and of the way you live your life. If you're not aware of that, and you're not aware of your gaps are, you're going to repeat exactly the same mistakes. So the trick then is to slow yourself down and go, I don't like what I am. What do I need to change? Where do I need to improve? And that's how you get from where you are to where you desire to be. The second thing to realize is that the best lessons are often the most bitter. And so the question for you to ask yourself is, have you learned the lessons you need to learn to make sure that you don't repeat the errors you've made in the past? Have you learned those lessons? And then the third thing to ask yourself is, if your life, I saw this beautiful quote at my stockbroker's office. It said, it was like one of these, like these quotes on the wall, that's like written text on the wall. And the quote said, if your life were a movie and you were the main character, and this was the opening scene, how would the rest of the movie play out? Full stop. Do that. I was like, wow, that clarifies it, right? So whatever you want to achieve in future, wherever you want to go, however you want to get there, if your life right now was a movie and you were the main character and this part of your life was the opening scene, think about Will Smith and The Pursuit of Happiness, that very opening scene where he's bought those terrible X-ray machines and computer machines. They stacked up walls high in his home. He's battling to keep his marriage together. He can barely provide for his own. That's the opening part of the movie. If that's where you are and that's what your life looks like, and you don't like where you are where you're supposed to be. Now, how do you get to where you want to be? And the reason I say you are where you're supposed to be is the supposed to part means that there is something you need to learn so that you're not there again. See, you will always find yourself resident at the place where you are not learning lessons because you're not growing beyond that point. So learn the lessons that are keeping you stuck at that level and move beyond it. But if you were Will Smith in that movie, and this is the opening scene of your life, what does the rest of the movie look like? Okay, now go do that. So go be your own superhero. Go be your own rock star. Go be your own Oscar-nominated winner in the movie that is your life, in the character that is your story.
Rule number 7 is be productive with Dean Graziosi.
There's a difference between being busy and being productive. We all know that. You're like, oh, that's brilliant, Dean. But you know that already. But a lot of times I do it. I don't know about you. I still slip back into doing busy work. And I feel like I had an accomplishing day. And then I look, I'm like, no, you just found a way to keep your brain busy. But did you actually move the needle in your life? Did you move towards a bigger future? Did you grow? Did you become a better version of you today than yesterday? And I really need to measure that. But again, if it's a complicated app, like write in what I ate for lunch and how many calories it was, you don't do it. So here's what so I'm going to give it to you the way I do it. There's 3 types of things that I write down in my journal and kind of 3 types of things that we do on a regular basis, right? So there are things in your life, and this is what you need to write down, and some of you can text it in here, which I love when you guys do that, or not text it, post in here. There's things that you must do, right? So let's label it 1 through 3. There's things you must do. So what are some things you must do? You might want to do them, but they're a must. Like at 3 o'clock, at 2:40, the days I have my kids, I must. It's just a part of my life. I ain't missing it until they tell me I can't do it anymore. At 2:40, I must go pick up my kids from school. Yes, I could send my assistant. Yes, my wife can go. Yes, their mom can go. But for me, that's a must. I must go there, right? There's other stuff I must go. I must go, if you saw that other training, I had to get, I cut myself shaving today. But the other one, I had like 3 pre-cancers I had to get burned off. There's must things of like going to a doctor and making sure you're maintaining yourself. There's must, I don't mean it in a bad way. There's good must and bad must. Picking up my kids, a must I love. Going to the gym in the morning, I don't know if I always love it, but I must go to the gym every morning because it puts my head in the right space. So there's must do stuff. So you kind of just got to label that and always, always, always question must do stuff. Like I must go hang out with my friends on Thursday night because it's how we all bond. Well, maybe that's what you must do in your 20s and your 30s. I don't know, every time I go there, we don't talk about anything positive. We talk about what's wrong with the country, the world, the president, my family, my friends. I end up talking shit about my boyfriend or my girlfriend. Like, I don't know if that's a must anymore. So I would question all the musts. But if you must do Monday morning meetings with the team, that's a must. But again, this is all stuff I write everything in my journal. This is why I'm going to try to tie this all together, right? When you get the journal, you get that 20-minute training. I give you the tactical. This, I'm giving you the heart behind the simplicity of why this has moved the needle so much in my life, right? So what are some of the musts you do? They're just on the calendar, no matter what. And I would really analyze, are they a must? Can you delete them? Are they a must? And if they are, can you make them better? Like if you're going to do a Monday morning meeting, can you show up and actually move the needle in your life? Like this is all going to come down to what the journal says is, what are the most important needle movers in your life? Because we get stuck in minutia. We get stuck in the hypnotic rhythm. Dale Carnegie used to call it. We get stuck in the hypnotic rhythm of a day. We get stuck in the hypnotic rhythm of a weekly routine, of a monthly routine, and you don't realize it. It's like, wow, I've been doing the same workout. Oh, I've been getting the same coffee. Oh, I've been handling the meetings the same way. Oh, I've been picking my kids up and I'm kind of not in the best mood in the same way. And it's like, screw that. Time to shake this shit up. Like, how do I improve picking my kids up? Like some days I'll have a crazy day, I'll pick my kids up. I'm like, yeah, I'm just waiting in this line. I'm like, no, I'm gonna park, and when they come out, they're gonna see my big smile. I don't care what I feel like. I'm shaking this up today. I'm like, I must pick them up because I want to, but I'm gonna do it different. Like I'll show up, sometimes we have weekly meetings for the teams and it's this is what we did this week, this is what we accomplished, we took what we measure, we look at our scorecard, and they do that. And some days I'll just come in like, yo, what's up everybody? I wanna tell you about this story with my kid, and I'll just shake it up and I watch their faces, it just shuck up. If we're gonna do a must, shake it up. And then really analyze those musts, right? Okay, second part, so there's stuff you must do. And then there's busy work, okay? Now, this stuff gets written in here. I don't want to like just totally dog it, be calling it busy work like you shouldn't do it. But this is stuff that's habit driven. I want you to identify things that are habit driven. This is busy work, but this is stuff, if you're currently working in a job, there's busy stuff you do all day and you have to. That's how you get a paycheck. That's how you help the company grow. That's how you do what you do. If you own your own company, there's stuff that's busy work. I did busy work all morning. Legit. I was on the phone closing a partnership deal for an hour, talking about the contract, talking about each person's roles and responsibilities, all that kind of stuff. That's kind of busy work to me. I kind of hate it, but I have to do it. But once again, you got to analyze the busy work, the repetitive stuff that you have to do, not the stuff you must do. That's different. The busy work, you have to analyze, is it busy work that actually keeps the company stable, or keeps your job, or keeps your family, or keeps that stable, but doesn't really move the needle in your life? And then there's some busy work that, come on, it's time to let it go. Stop doing it. Literally, find a different way. Hire a virtual assistant in the Philippines for $5 an hour. Hire an intern, a college intern at $15 an hour, and get them to pick up your dry cleaning and run the errands, and go to Home Depot and build the signs or help you with your graphics. Go to Fiverr.com, go to 99 Designs and get your logos done. Stop going online and playing with your logos for 10 hours, and in between that, you're stopping by to see what the Kardashians did. I'm not knocking the Kardashians, and most of you don't watch, but some of us know more about the Kardashians than we know about how to move the needle forward in our life, about marketing, right? Don't go online and say, I want to look at all these other sites on how they're doing it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, Bruce Jenner did that? Like, maybe that's not topic, I don't watch the news, so maybe that's not hot in the news anymore, but I'm sharing this stuff because I watch so many people get sucked into busy work that's not a needle mover. And the reason I'm sharing this and how I hope you're loving this because I'm just sharing it real and raw. this little journal changes my life because I write it all down. I write down what I must do. I write down my busy work, and in no form. I'm just telling you mine. Mine is sloppy. Like, this is just what I write every single day of my life. Everything goes in here, and the busy work in here, the must do stuff. And when I get the chance every 2 weeks, and we'll get to it, to kind of bring all of it forward on the sheet that in my journal, it's 3 columns. It's the needle movers, and most important, it's the what do I need to do today, this week, and this month, and then what should I stop doing? When I kind of take all my notes from like a week or two, and I bring them form and kind of condense them, I get to go, why would I think I must do that? I must not do that anymore. Or that busy work, yeah, that's the foundation of my company. I don't love it, and someday I want someone to do it for me, but right now I got to do it. That's busy work that must be done. Let's just call it busy work. It's effective work. I don't want busy to have a negative connotation on some of it, but maybe it's effective work. Don't love it, got to do it. Let me find a way to like it. Let me find a way to like it. But then there's also busy work that you're like, I don't need to do that anymore. That busy work doesn't do anything for me, God, the universe, my next level, next version of me, my evolution, my growth, making 2020 the best year of my life. Like, that busy work doesn't do crap for me. It's got to go. All right, you feeling it? Now, the first was what? Must do stuff. The second is busy work, kind of habits. You got to watch those habits. There's good habits that keep your company growing. There's busy work that doesn't do crap for anybody, not your company, not your business, not the job you're in, not your career, none of it. It doesn't get your first mastermind, workshop, book, whatever it is you want out of life to the next level, just doesn't do it. And the third, and this, I'm going to tie this all together, guys. I'm going to tie this all together. The third is the most important part. That's the needle movers. That is the things that you can work on that are sometimes scary that actually move the needle in your life. That's how your career leapfrogs. That's how you get the business off the ground. That's how you take the business that's doing okay and you scale it to another level. And this is the part that really, and I'm gonna jump ahead here. This is the part that has changed my life. And this is a part why journaling, whether mine, a pad, a white pad like this, or anybody's, this is talking about just getting it done today. That's where I know that I pass people I work with. Everybody says, how do you stay ahead? How are you always cutting edge? How have you been relevant in social media and TV and in this space for 21 years? How have you been an entrepreneur? Wait till you read The Underdog Advantage. I go more personal in here on failure stories and success stories. I share stuff in here I've never shared anywhere in the world. How do you do all that? How do you do all that is because I really work and obsess on the needle movers in my life.
Rule number 8 is find real happiness with Brendan Burchard.
One of the speakers that night asked a question, I don't know what to talk about tomorrow. And I said, just remember this. Most people are coming to this event in some form of pain. They're hurting. And it breaks my heart that I actually know that to be true. But I do know that to be true. It's one of the things that I'm always very cognizant of when I speak is that there's a lot of people in here in some pain. And I'd like to make a dent in that in the universe, you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm curious with the brilliant people, and you are brilliant, that I know, why you think more people aren't happy, and what could one do to just begin the journey of loving, living, and mattering more and being happier?
Oh, I love that. I think let's begin with most people don't know what happiness is or where they get it. You know, I taught this at your event. It's a simple framework. It's like draw out a triangle. For those who are listening, draw out a little triangle, and on each of the points, I'll tell you what happiness is. Like the human desire and striving is we want a sense of aliveness. Mm-hmm. So you need to do more things that make you alive, make you vibrant, authentic, expressive, make you sense.
An example of that would be, give me one.
For some people, it's adventure. They go mountain biking. Okay. It's like, wow, that just brought me back to life. You know, some people it's hanging out with great friends. Okay. Some people it's doing their passion. Some people it's, just honestly feeling and sensing the moment and meditating. Okay. Another thing that everyone wants is connection. Mm-hmm. Most people today lack the depth of happiness because I love what you said earlier. The difference between you and maybe Tony is that you really believe in the environment. Mm-hmm. And most people lack a connection with other people. Mm-hmm. They are surface level relationships. Mm-hmm. You can't be really happy long-term with surface level relationships. Mm-hmm. So you got to find out, how do I connect more deeply? And it can be simple things like you talked about. You know, with the kids, maybe less than texting, call them. Have that moment of connection. It's nothing crazy. That's what you're striving for. You want happiness with your kids. You're going to call them. You're going to connect with them. So think about connection relationships, a level of depth. Then we want meaningful pursuits. When I go after that, I love that pursuit. And notice it doesn't say meaning. A lot of people just say meaning. I said, no, it's meaningful pursuits. Because a lot of people we know who are really successful, they've already had a meaningful life. They're miserable because they're not pursuing anything anymore.
Gosh, Brennan, that's so true.
You got that. You got to have that pursuit, man.
Yeah.
You got to find a pursuit. It has meaning to you. It brings you back to life. That's happiness. And then the middle of the triangle is the capital G, growth. If you don't have aliveness, you don't have connection, you don't have meaningful pursuits, and you don't have growth, you're miserable. We can bank on it. We can guarantee it. The research will reveal it every single time. But if we can get you a little bit more alive, a little bit more connected, a little bit more meaningful pursuits, and a little bit more growth, those like little bit in each of those, it's like a thunderous shift in your life. You're just like, whoa, little bits in those. But there's an access point. Why aren't most people happy? Let's say they did all those things. Still not happy? And they're just not here. Presence is the gateway to happiness. If I can't get you present, to feel it, to sense it, can't change. What most people want in real, like what they really want, all the people I work with, maybe the people you work with, what they really want, they'll never say it, and almost of them never know it. What almost every human being wants is they want to feel the day more. They got all these activities, they're blazing through. Get the kids to school, get this off to there, get that done, answer that email, get this project done. And even if they're moving towards things they find meaningful and they're awesome, but if they don't feel it, if they're literally not present, they're not mindful enough to sense it, to appreciate, to feel grateful, to feel the joy, to feel the ups, to feel the downs, to feel the miseries, to feel the wins. If you aren't feeling the day, you're just blazing through as an automaton. You're just blazing through the days, on autopilot. You're just like overwhelmed, stress, going through it, but you don't feel the day. I can't get you to be happy. So the gateway to all of happiness is always presence. Learn to be more present in the moment. Feel the moment, even the bad ones. You got to feel the day more so that when you get on your knees at night to pray, you felt the day. Dear God, thank you. I felt this day. I felt those lessons you gave me. I felt those gifts you gave me. I felt, thank you for that connection. See, when you talk to God, if you don't feel, there's not a relationship there. God wants you to feel. It's a unique thing he gave us, not just the emotional reaction of an animal, but the ability to deeply appreciate feeling. Very human. So we got to tap people back in the present to deeply appreciate the moments, the feelings, the events of life again. And I think that's why I'm so happy. It's like, I feel so much. Most people are so scared of that. I'm like, I love it. It makes me feel alive, right? How do you sense more aliveness? You got to feel the day, feel the moment.
Rule number 9 is improve your communication with Brian Tracy.
The ability to communicate well with others is one of the most important skills you can possess, and it is a learnable skill. As much as 85% of the success you achieve in your life will be determined by how you interact with other people, because communication helps people understand each other better and better. That's why it's important to master all elements of communication. They include who is sending the message and who is receiving it, or the speaker and the listener. The elements of communication also include environment, noise, context, feedback, and the mode of communication itself. Here are 5 basic rules that you need to follow to master all elements of communication. The first rule is to understand your audience. Who are they? Where are they coming from? What concerns them? What's of interest to them? What they need and want to learn from you? No matter who you're speaking with, your boss, your coworker, a group of people, or your own family, everyone communicates and receives communication differently. In order to master communication, you must be flexible with your communication styles and be able to adapt to who you're communicating with in order to be effective. Understand your audience by getting to know them. Listen to them. What is important to them? What are their pain points or concerns in life? What motivates them? Use this information to choose the words you would like to use, your tone of voice, and the topics that you'll speak about. The second rule to mastering the elements of communication is to think before you speak. In a world of constant noise and a rising number of voices, you want to make sure that you are heard. And the best way to ensure your voice doesn't get lost is to think clearly and understand what you want to say before you say it. Think about what you want to say, who you're saying it to, and how to best say it in order for it to stick and for communication to transfer seamlessly from you to your audience. To keep you fully understand what message you want to share before you actually share it, spend some time researching and thinking through your topic and planning your delivery. Rule number 3 is to be transparent and admit what you know and what you don't. When we want to see ourselves as effective communicators, sometimes it's hard to admit that we don't have the answer to something. We don't have the answer to everything. We don't have the answer to anything. And if you don't know something or aren't comfortable sharing your voice on a subject, it's okay to say that you don't know or that you don't know yet. It's better than trying to fumble your way through an exchange that could cause confusion and an even greater lack of effective communication. Tell the person that you're speaking with that you do not know the full answer now, but you will find the answer and get back to them within a specific time frame. Then, follow up by doing your research and returning to them with a well-thought-through answer. Following this process shows that you are genuine and builds trust, both of which are essential leadership traits and qualities. The fourth rule to mastering the elements of communication is to adjust your environment. Your environment is a big part of an effective communication exchange. For example, trying to ask your boss for a raise for all of the hard work that you've been doing during the middle of a holiday party may not be the best environment to communicate your message. A meeting during normal business hours will likely be a more beneficial environment for communicating your past successes and the deservingness of that raise to you. So when you're trying to effectively communicate to anyone about anything, plan when and where you will deliver your message. Reflecting on the things you learned while getting to know more about your audience will also help you to understand the most optimal environment to communicate with them in. The final rule to mastering the elements of communication is to keep studying it and seeking improvement. Communication is a skill set learned as time moves on. No matter how good you get, there will always be room to learn and improve and grow. The more you practice and the more you keep up with your new audiences, mediums, and methods of communication, the better that you will get. After communicating a message to someone, try asking for feedback so that you can continue to learn and grow and apply new methods the next time you deliver a message or story. Try new methods of communication to improve how your message is both delivered and received. When you're able to communicate effectively with others, you have the power to create positive change and harness success in every aspect of your life. All successful leaders have learned how to master the elements of communication. Practice these 5 rules, and you will be well in your way to mastering the communication skills that will open doors for you.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is become a good decision maker with Eric Thomas.
You got to become a good decision maker to make your dreams become a reality. So I made a decision. I was going to wake up every single day and I was going to write. I was going to wake up every single day. Do me a favor, in your phone right now, I want you to write down good decisions, bad decisions. All right? Good decisions, bad decisions. I want you to write that down. Good decisions, say it with me, good decisions, bad decisions. So let me just say this to you, and I want to make this clear. Right? I remember, years ago, we used to say when we was kids, somebody would say, well, that person is middle-aged, that person is old, right? You can't say that anymore. Why? Because of the decisions that a lot of us are making now. There are kids who are 17 and 18 who are old. Why? Because they're not going to make it to 19. So they're seniors. Like, that's it. They're 19, 20, they're making some bad decisions. They're not going to make it to 21. So they're actually a senior citizen at 15. Because they don't have but 3 or 4 years left to go. Does that make sense? Because they made what kind of decisions? Bad decisions. So here's what I want you to do for me. I want you to ask yourself every single day, are the decisions I'm making good? Because if you're a good decision maker, it means you are guaranteed to make your dreams become a reality. I told you my goal was to write a book and make what list? New York Times bestsellers list. And week 1, we made it. Why? Because of the decisions we made. There was a whole lot of decisions that it took to get here. And so in order for you to make your dreams and goals become a reality, you got to be a great decision maker. Does that make sense? And listen to me, every outcome you get. I had an uncle who died of cirrhosis of the liver. It didn't happen by accident. It didn't happen by accident. He died maybe 50, 60. It wasn't by accident. How do you die of cirrhosis of the liver? For the most part, what happens? Somebody said drinking what? You're not drinking water. you're not drinking water. Like listen to me very closely. You don't drink a gallon of water a day, and then 15, 20 years later, the doctor calls you and says you got cirrhosis of the liver. What happened? You're drinking too much water. You drank the water and it just messed up your liver. As a matter of fact, if you drink a gallon of water a day, your organs are going to be cleansed and your blood is going to be pure. Does it make sense? But when you drink alcohol, I'm not telling you to drink or not to drink. I'm saying it's a decision, and certain outcomes come with decisions. So I'm not telling you don't drink. I'm not telling you don't smoke. You grown. You do whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you, with every decision comes a result. With every decision there comes an outcome. You don't have to eat vegetables if you don't want to, but I promise you, your body's going to, at some point, tell you you're not eating vegetables. Does that make sense? So number 1, we're going to become what kind of decision makers? Good decision makers. And then hopefully we're going to get to a time in our lives where we become what kind of decision makers? Great decision makers. And then one day I'm hoping that we're elite. So this book, almost 300 pages, the New York Times bestseller, the LA Times bestseller, USA Today, that didn't happen because I'm a genius. It happened because of some decisions I made. Is that clear? Look, if we don't do anything else, if you walk out of this room today, you owe you to make good decisions. Because when you make bad decisions, you destroy you. You're killing you. You're destroying you. And I told you, you live in a country that if you make good decisions, you reap the benefits of it.
You have to make a decision in your life. And this is a decision. And I would say that it's a voluntary element of faith because it isn't exactly evidence-based. It's more like something you decide before you even look at the evidence. It's more like you decide to stake your life on this. Like, if you decide to get married to someone, you don't really do it on the basis of the evidence that you're going to have a happy life because you don't have that evidence. You do it. You decide that you're going to make a happy life with this person and that it's worth the risk. So you get married as an expression of faith. Okay. And so faith doesn't mean believing things that no one with any sense would believe. Faith sometimes means putting a stake in the sand and saying, here's where I stand in some sense, regardless. And you do that when you get married. You do that maybe when you pledge allegiance to a friend. You have a best friend and you want to maintain that friendship as long as you possibly can. It's a decision of faith. Maybe you do that when you decide a career, when you go to university, because you could have done something else, right? But you chose that. So that's where you put your faith. And like I said, that doesn't mean believing what no reasonable person would believe. Okay, so back to God is love. Well, I'm going to talk about being first instead of God. And being is the totality of experience. That we're going to define it that way for the purposes of this discussion. Being is what there is instead of nothing. And you experience that as a conscious creature. Being is what you experience as a conscious creature. It includes all your emotions, all your motivations, all your subjective experience, as well as everything that's objective. Okay, so it seems to me that all things considered, it's a useful move of faith to act as if you love being. And if you love something, then you want the best in it to flourish. And so maybe you decide deep in your soul that it would be better for you to act towards an end that makes everything that's good better. That's the best way to live, to make everything that's good better. And maybe to restrict the development of everything that's malevolent and evil within yourself and in the broader world, insofar as you're able to do that. And so I think that's an expression of love, is that because when you love something, you care for it. And the proper attitude towards being, I think, is care. And so that's one element of God is love. God being analogous in some way to being. Now, we could look at God more classically as the creator of being. If you assume being is good, well, it's not much of a leap to assume the creator of being is good. And maybe you adopt an attitude towards the creator of being, and that's also love. And you open your heart to existence. And maybe that's the most effective means of having existence open its heart to you. So, for example, if you love other people, you want the best for them, you want the best in you to serve the best in them. If you love them and you trust them courageously, so you open yourself up to them, I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that that's how you elicit the best from them, the best that can be elicited. You're going to get hurt sometimes and betrayed, but that's going to happen no matter what approach you take. I think that's the most effective approach. And that is perhaps the most effective approach to existence per se, to approach it with love and courage. And so that's how that looks to me. Is it a feeling like loving a person? Yes, I think it is. I think it is a feeling like loving a person. It's the generalization of that care that you would have for a child, your brother, your sister, a family member. It's the generalization of that to the broader domain of existence, to broader domains of existence. And I think that's a skill in some sense, right? I mean, if you're good at loving and caring for your family, but you can expand that outward so that more people are brought under that umbrella, then, well, assuming you can manage that, it's very difficult. It seems to me that that's laudable. It seems to me that we spontaneously admire and would like to imitate people who are capable of that. And so you see that when you have a job or you encounter a boss who takes you under his or her wing and helps develop you, or you find a teacher who's particularly inspiring, or you work for an entrepreneur who's inspiring and who also opens doors for you. They're acting with love, as far as I'm concerned. They want the best in them to serve the best in you. And that's very, very motivating for everyone. And that's the proper basis of our social relationships, not power, for God's sake. So can love balance out the crushing responsibility? That's a sophisticated question. I don't know the answer to that. Love is warmer than responsibility. Love is part of empathy and agreeableness. It's a different dimension than responsibility, which is more part of conscientiousness and sort of a cold virtue. I don't know if it balances out the crushing responsibility, but I think it's the emotional analog to the crushing responsibility. Right? So maybe there's love and duty, and they run parallel in if you're an ethical person. That's not all there is to ethics, but love and duty, they're important, and maybe they're better together than they would be as independent entities.
You have to learn to practice presence. Practice presence. Being here, fully, in the moment, alive, vibrant, or at least attentive. Right? Snapping your brain out of that reactive, go with the flow mode to no, and being here. That oldest advice in all of personal development about presence and awareness, about being with the flow, about being in the moment. Every spiritual tradition has taught it as being central to human happiness and connection. This has been stolen from us because of this. I really believe, I'm stunned when I hang out with people that they can't be present for 3 minutes without wanting to scroll through something. I mean, they can't be, even 4 or 5 minutes, they can't do it anymore because they have trained themselves with millions of swipes to be not present. And I believe that meaning and fulfillment, they become too fleeting when we haven't learned to be really present. And I think that's important. Learning to be really fully present and pulling that from ourselves. There's plenty of times, if you saw my schedule, you're like, how do you get present? I'm like, I've trained myself. Otherwise, I can just be pulled in the next thing. There's always a million things going on around me, and I have to learn to just zoom right in and be here with you. You have to teach yourself to do that too. Because the more days that blur by, the less sense of meaning or fulfillment you have. You can be busy, but the days don't blur by, right? I'm incredibly busy. I'm actually, this last 2 years, I can't believe how busy we got. But during that time, present, forcing myself each day to get present so I can recognize and appreciate those little moments. So I can create the connection with other people so that I can sense that spiritual aliveness of being here now versus hoping one day to arrive to something. And that practice of cultivating presence, of, I would say, and I know people don't like when I use this phrase, but demanding presence. I demand of myself to be present. Because I know when I'm not, I'm like, Brendan, get present. Okay. So I might bounce in place, take 10 deep breaths just to reset my brain and my body. Whew. And that 10 deep, maybe you do it right now with me. Just stand up wherever you're at, bounce in place a little bit, take 10 deep breaths. Recenter yourself to the moment and keep going. And that way you can observe life. Many people, they'll work their whole career, then they'll retire, and then they'll retire, and they'll finally be like, oh, wow, look at the color of the trees. This is amazing. Wow, life looks pretty good. And they didn't even see it for 5-6 years. They missed all of it, even though they were amidst all of it. They just missed it. You have to teach yourself to be with it, to be here. Meaning and fulfillment is so much, as much as we can define it and have a destiny mindset, we can feel it. Like I do it for, like, if I have a great dinner with Denise, like things go great, we just have a nice conversation, I'll walk away and I might be like putting things away and just literally think in my mind, what a blessing. God, I made it. Thank you so much for this blessing to be here with my wife. What a great day. What an amazing moment we just had. You know what? Years later, I'm going to cherish that dinner. Simple as that. It's what we say to ourselves in the minute and after the minute that really defines how we feel over the long term. Isn't it true? The little moments, if you can celebrate them, be there for them, give thanks for them. I believe the more you give thanks for the moments in your life, the more meaning you find. The more you give thanks for the moments in your life, the more you feel fulfilled. Even if you feel years away, even if the next big thing is out there, it's okay. Right now, you're feeling it. That's what presence is. It's about feeling the day more. You hear me teach this now for 20 years. It's like you have to learn to feel life. If we don't feel it, then what's it about? And you're not just going to suddenly one day feel it, because you drank a bunch of coffee. Maybe you are, but you're gonna imagine me on caffeine. One day you're gonna teach yourself to feel the day and feel the moments more. You're gonna observe more. You're gonna breathe more. You're gonna have more intention. And as you learn to feel the day, when someone says, "Hey, do you feel fulfilled about your life?" You're like, "I do," because you are filling life with presence. When you fill life with presence, you feel fulfilled. It takes an active participation on your point. You're not just going to show up one day and feel fulfilled. You have to fill the day with those senses of gratitude and meaning and really, I would say, connection. If you don't do that, I promise the days just blur by. And the more they blur by, the more you just stack on everybody else's reactions, needs, desires, drives, distractions, their meaning. And one day you show up and you're really just a bag of everyone else's intentions and needs and drives and labels and meanings. And in that place, you're not autonomous. In that place, you don't get to experience that individual sense of meaning and fulfillment we've talked about from the very beginning, because you didn't take the time to define it consistently enough.
The Dallas Uber driver.
Oh.
So as somebody who has gotten into countless Ubers, and some small percentage of them know who I am, and then of course they start asking questions. Talk to me about chasing your dreams and this quote that you have that an aha moment does not necessarily lead to an aha life.
Yeah, the Uber driver in Dallas that's in this book. I get choked up when I think about him. An aha moment.
Why choked up?
I get choked up because what happens for me every single day is, and you hear from people every single day, you've got millions and millions of people that are inspired by, empowered by, impacted by your content. There are people out there that use your work as a lifeline, and it is humbling. And what I am really present to in the work that I'm putting out, in the stuff that I'm sharing, whether it's my failures or the things that I'm using that are helping me in my own struggles, is just how much people are holding themselves back and how much pain people feel. Because most folks know what they dream about and what they want. And yet they're spending all of their time and energy arguing against what they want. And so you can have all these epiphanies. I hope that when somebody listens to our conversation and watches this, that they have a massive aha moment. But it's not going to mean shit if you don't take action and do something about it. The aha moment is the door that opens, but your new life does not begin unless you step through the door. And most people, and that's what was so kind of, the simple idea of high-fiving yourself, of encouraging yourself, of supporting yourself. Most people, when you have an aha moment and the door to your new life opens up, instead of going, I got this, let's go, and high-fiving yourself to step forward, most of us go, I don't know if I'm worth that. I don't know if right now is the right time to do this. I don't think I'm good enough. I've failed so many times, I can't go through that door. And that's the problem I want to attack right now. That there is somewhere in your life that you know what you want. You can feel it pulling you. And you are actively arguing against it. You're bringing yourself down. You're beating yourself out. Like, people will cheer for you and me. They won't cheer for themselves. I'm the same way. And so this Uber driver, the story that you're talking about, I get into the car and we start driving, and I'm on the phone as we're driving, and I'm having a conversation with somebody about this daytime talk show that I launched, which was a dream with Sony Pictures Television, and then was promptly fired after season 1. It was a huge failure because we didn't make it to season 2. Huge failure in real world terms. Right. Massive success when it comes to the timeline of my life. And so I'm talking to this person about the talk show. I hang up the phone and this Uber driver comes alive. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're in my cab. And I'm like, why? And he says, because I want to talk to you about something. I think you can help me. And I'm like, great, how can I help you? And he says, I have a dream of being a Oscar-winning actor and creating opportunities for other Black and Latino men to do the same in acting. And I'm like, freaking fantastic. What the f*** are you doing in Dallas? Right? The guy's 25. And so I go, the game is in New York and LA. I mean, sure, you can act, you can write stuff, you can be here in Dallas, but why are you not in LA? Why are you not in New York? And he's like, you're right. I need to move to LA. I'm like, why not? And he says, I have $700 in my bank account. And I'm like, that's freaking fantastic. You have $700 in a car? Dude, drop me off and get driving. What are you waiting for? And so we have this whole conversation, and I write about it in this book, where I am actively arguing for his dream, and he is actively arguing against his dream. And what is so sad is throughout this conversation, Tom, he's like, you're right, $700 could get me there. You're right, I am only 25. You're right, if I keep thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking about what I want to be doing, I'm not only going to drive in circles, my whole life is going to spin in circles as I think about what I want and I don't do shit about it. And then you are going to find yourself not at 25, but at 45 or 65, and you're going to be so filled with regret that you never put a bet on yourself. And so this conversation ends with him declaring that he's going to go to California and me giving him a bunch of tools that I talk about in this book. And the point of the story is, does he move or not? I don't know. The point of the story is it's so easy to see what somebody else should do. It's so easy to cheer for somebody else. We all do that, right? We cheer for our favorite sports teams. We follow our favorite influencers and authors. We plan birthday parties for our friends. We take on extra work from our colleagues. We support everyone around us. We do not know how to do it for ourselves.
Discipline is your missing ingredient. You've got the heart, you've got the care, you've got the desire to serve, you know you could be doing more, you want to do it for the right reasons, you're not just here to make money, you're here to have an impact and to grow and do amazing things. You know you can do amazing things. What's missing? Discipline. There's just a lack of follow through. It's the constant start and stop and start and stop and start and stop. And for me, there's nothing more, not just frustrating, but sad than seeing somebody who's got so much talent and so much potential and so much of a heart, and just seeing them not win because they're not following through, because you're just not doing the consistent enough work, that you're motivated and inspired and then you're not anymore and nothing happens. And one of the only things that saved me, one of the only reasons why I'm here making these videos and you're watching, and I've had any success in social media, is because I just was disciplined, that I just kept making videos. One of the things I love sharing is my journey of YouTube, because I was not an overnight success story. Every month almost, I'll post to my socials of how I grew month over month, year over year on YouTube. And in the first 5 years, I had 7,000 subscribers or so. So 5 years in of making content, 7,000 subscribers. A lot of you are already ahead of that. A lot of you could get there a lot faster than me. How do you keep going when you're not getting traction? When in year one, you have 100 subscribers. I just had the discipline to keep making content, to keep following through. And 12,000 videos later, here we are. And people can get there faster. You don't have to be as slow as me. I took a long time, and I had a lot of issues. I was shy and insecure and introverted, and felt like you had to be, type A personality to win, and all of these limiting beliefs, all sorts of issues. And you can get there a lot faster than me, but it still requires a discipline to follow through and do it. And I really think it's one of the only things that saved me. I remember sitting down at a Florida outlet mall, and I was sitting there with a friend, and Nina was going shopping, and we spent half an hour at a Starbucks there while she was shopping. And he said, I'm going to be the next Gary Vee of my industry. It was in music. I'm going to be the next Gary Vee in music. And you're going to keep doing your thing. Like, let's keep in touch and see how we do and how we grow. And he posted, 3 or 4 years later on his Instagram, and he said, 3 or 4 years ago, I met Evan Carmichael at this outlet mall in Florida. He had our picture as the post, and I told him I was going to be the next Gary Vee for music, and he's going to keep doing his thing. And Evan went on and did his thing. and I stopped. And I didn't have the success that I said I was going to have. And here's the thing, this guy has way more talent than I do. And he's super talented in music and just better camera presence, more energy, his videos just look better, way more attention to detail. He had all of this stuff and like a warm, amazing human who cares and wants to serve and wants to see musicians make money and turn their art into something amazing, right? Like he had all of this stuff, all of it. The only thing he lacked was discipline, and he didn't follow through. And I see that in so many of you. You've got everything. You've got all the ingredients. It's just a lack of discipline and not making enough. It's the lack of, because you're not motivated, you stop. And lack of motivation isn't a good enough reason. You have to follow through. So how do you do it? How do you stay disciplined? How do you stay focused when you're not getting results, when you're not seeing the wins? How do you stay disciplined? Okay, so let me give you a couple things. First is having a really powerful morning routine. This is a struggle for entrepreneurs because no matter how great a day you had yesterday, today's a new day. No matter how great today is, tomorrow's a new day. It's like you're starting over every day. You go to an event or you watch a video, get all inspired, and you expect it to last. And then tomorrow you wake up, it's like, oh, how come I don't feel the same way as I did yesterday? And then that creates this cycle of procrastination instead of actually following through. So the morning routine really matters. What is it that gets you feel inspired, motivated, creative, ready to go so that you go off and have a much better day? For me, two of the things that I find the most valuable are in my morning routine. One is music. So I put on music right away. It's the fastest way to change your state. Put on songs that make you move, that make you dance, and make you want to just change your state because you wake up tired and no energy. Like, let's go. We got to demand excellence from ourselves. And so music is the fastest way to get your body into a different state. And the second in my morning routine is to do a believe walk. And that's 20 minutes to an hour every day. I walk, I go to Tim Hortons, I grab a cup of coffee and spend $2 on it. And I think about my day. How do I want my day to go? How do I want to be intentional about the day? So we're not waking up like an accident. Most people wake up like an accident, fall into their day, look at other people, you load your phone, you write other people's agenda for your time, and then you don't follow through. And so having that as part of my morning routine really helps me. So what is your morning routine? The most important thing that you need to do is the thing that makes you feel important, vibrant, that today's going to matter. Put that into your morning routine instead of hoping that it happens. That's why I make so many videos too. There's content for you every day. If you need me in your life or you need the people that I profile in your life, there's something every single day for you across my channels. So there's no excuse for you not to get the inspiration and the motivation and the tactics that you need to make your dreams happen. So that's step number one, is have a powerful morning routine. Step number two is create a calendar. What's in your calendar? I'm making videos today because it's in my calendar. Today's a Tuesday when I'm recording this, and Tuesday is my YouTube day. There's a lot of stuff happening in my life. There's a lot of stuff happening in my business. Right now, we're at my wife's parents' house, and they're delivering a couch. Maybe I can see that. They're delivering a couch here. It's delivering a couch, and they're helping. I'm here making content because Tuesday is my YouTube day. There's so many other things I could be doing right now. If I was left to my own devices, I'd say I have something more important to do. I need to be doing X. But because this has been scheduled in my calendar, I'm going to follow through and make videos. How have I made 12,000 videos? Because it's in my calendar. It's been in my calendar for years to make videos. So create a calendar, especially for the things that you need to do that you're afraid to do. I'm still afraid to make videos, guys. Again, 12,000 videos later, I'm still afraid to make videos. Why? Because I want these videos to be the best I've ever done, because I want to show up with more care, more heart, more passion. I hope that this is a video that forces you, to take some kind of action. I want it to be the best one that I've done. And so I mini procrastinate before making videos on a Tuesday. Every week I have a mini procrastination. The only difference is my procrastination is, 10 minutes instead of days, 10 days, and then it doesn't happen, right? And so whatever you are procrastinating on that is important, that you're just afraid of, you put it in your calendar and you block off time. And that allows you the creativity and the space and suffocates the excuses for you not to follow through. And then step number 3. So 1, have a morning routine, right? That sets you up, that gets you inspired, makes you feel like you're important and today's gonna matter. 2, you create a schedule for when you're gonna do the things, especially the scary things on your list. And then 3, you have to teach yourself that you do the things that are in your calendar. You said you're gonna do it, you put it in your calendar, you get it done. Even if you're tired, even if you feel overwhelmed, you can change your calendar for tomorrow, or you can change your calendar for next week. But don't trust yourself or listen to yourself when you're feeling low, when you're feeling overwhelmed, and you said you were gonna do it, you have to go off and do it to teach yourself. Because what happens is the next time you say you're gonna do something, you put in your calendar, you don't trust that you're gonna follow through because you haven't followed through the last 20 times. So be very careful about what you put into your calendar. And then when it's in there, you have to go off and do it. Make those 3 changes in your life. Morning routine, create a schedule, do what's in your schedule. The only thing you're missing is discipline. Again, you've got the heart, you've got the creativity, you've got the passion, you've got the willingness to serve. You know you can do more. You want to create an amazing life for yourself, your family, the people around you. Like, you know you've got this thing. You know you've got this thing. I don't need to tell you this. You know that you've got something amazing inside you. And yet it's not happening consistently enough. You have to stop jumping from high to high to high and wondering why you don't feel motivated today. There's nothing wrong with you. This is normal. Discipline. Put it into your life and watch your entire life change. Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. If you want to learn the morning habits to start your day productively, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
If you struggle with anxiety, with depression, if you have a hard time getting out of bed in the morning, slithering is something I want you to try. It is a form of somatic therapy, and it's going to change your life. It changed mine.